And so for me, helping our clients recognize how to build the infrastructure that is going to support a company that generates 7 figures a year is exactly what I love to do. You could pay somebody $20 an hour or $200 an hour to free you up to go make $2,000 or $20,000. It's totally worth it.
And that's so crucial, because one thing I believe is what got you to 6 figures is not going to get you to the 7 figures.
Relationship and connection with God is what gives us the confidence to position ourselves to experience profitability, right? I teach the principles that are in the word that, as we're told in John and 1 John, any man who. God talks about money, wealth, and possessions more than he talks about heaven or hell. It's that important. And there's not one day that goes by that not one person doesn't make a money-based decision.
Absolutely.
Holding me.
Hello and welcome again to the Release the Chains podcast, where we have real, raw, and revolutionary discussions helping people just like you release your mental, emotional, financial, and generational chains. I am very excited to again come with you with our master series, where we're talking with people who have mastered their crafts, either whether that be from the inside or the outside, but we all know that it starts on the inside. So I'm excited to have Dr. Darnyelle Jervey-Harmon with me today. She is the CEO of Incredible One Enterprises, a multi-million-dollar coaching and consulting brand, best known for transforming the lives of her business coaching clients. Darnyelle equips her clients to leverage and scale businesses that serve them financially and spiritually. I love that. From mindset to messaging, marketing, sales, systems, and scale, Darnyelle can take you from 6 figures to 7 figures in record time, all while deepening your connection to God and strengthening your faith. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here. Me and you met, I think the first time we met in person was at April Frank's event. Okay, good. I want to make sure that was the first time. And I've got to tell you this. I don't think I've ever shared it with you, but we were just talking, sharing success tips and just talking, vibing. And you shared with me something that you do for your live events that help you generate more money. Mm-hmm. And girl, that one tip you shared with me, I went from my last event before I met you I made $72,000 at that event. After I took your advice and implemented it, it was $250,000.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I'm excited.
So thank you for that.
You are welcome. You are so welcome.
So I know you have to have a lot more that you share. Obviously, if you're taking your clients from six figures to 7 figures. So tell me about this whole thing with you help small businesses get out of small business poverty. Talk about that.
Yes. Okay. So first, I have to define small business poverty.
Please do.
And the reason why I take this really bold stance, Ari, is because we think that 6 figures is enough until we get there and we realize it's not, right? Like, it's the pie in the sky when we're not really making money in our business. And it just seems like it'll be so much, because when we had a corporate job, if we made 6 figures, that seemed like a lot of money, but it was because we didn't have all the additional responsibilities that entrepreneurship and self-employment bring down on us. And so for me, small business poverty is a low 6-figure business. I believe you cannot live the abundant life God called you to on low 6 figures a year. And so for me, helping our clients recognize how to build the infrastructure that is going to support a company that generates 7 figures a year is exactly what I love to do. Our clients are excited. They're talented. They know what they do. They know their craft better than anyone, but their business acumen is where there are opportunities, right? Their marketing strategy was friends and family and networking. And that's great. but you're at some point in time, you're going to run out of friends and family to refer to. And so you're going to have to figure out how to actually market beyond that. And so helping them to refine their messaging and their marketing, setting up the right systems around their sales and their marketing infrastructure, and hiring the right team.
Yeah.
Because another reason why they end up stuck in small business poverty and the bottleneck in their business is because they're not hiring. They've been duped, hoodwinked, and bamboozled into believing that they can't afford to hire.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, if you could pay somebody $20 an hour or $200 an hour to free you up to go make $2,000 or $20,000, it's totally worth it. And so often it's that mindset reframe. It's breaking those chains of being self-employed and still thinking like they're an employee for a company, and helping them to shift that trajectory so that their businesses can earn more.
That's so dope. So you help them kind of distance themselves as well from the company, where you're not always hands-on with everything.
Absolutely.
And that's so crucial, because one thing I believe is what got you to 6 figures is not going to get you to the 7 figures.
Not at all.
And it's like, you don't know until you have somebody like you that comes and show you that. And you do get stuck, because I was there for a long time. Then I realized, wait a minute, hold on. It's a mindset shift. It's a spiritual shift. Let's talk about that, because you teach from a biblical, spiritual perspective. Why is that so important to you?
Oh, gosh, I don't even know if we have enough time to go into why it's so important. So for me, the reason why it's so important is because I believe that God is calling us to a transference of wealth. And I believe that entrepreneurship is the vehicle that he created to transfer wealth. And so I am, I'm a God girl, always been a God girl. Today, I'm a God girl who's making millions. And it wouldn't be, if it wasn't for the God in me, that I would be even making millions, because I think relationship and connection with God is what gives us the confidence to position ourselves to experience profitability, right? Like, without understanding who you are and seeing yourself through the lens of God, you might undercharge. You might settle for the okie doke of an hourly rate instead of recognizing the value for the total sum of what it is that you can do for your clients. And so for me, they go hand in hand. I think that businesses that have a spiritual foundation go farther faster. And I'm about the principles. So I'm personally not religious. I always explain to people, I subscribe to the doctrines of Christianity, but I am not for the box that people and organized religion wants to put God in. I'm for the fullness of God. And so I teach the principles that are in the word, that, as we're told in John and 1 John, any man who works the principles is going to experience the result. So I want to help those of us who are believers, who feel called by God to the work that we're doing, tap into the abundance that we should be experiencing. Because for far too long, in my personal experience, church people are and have been the brokest, the most undelivered, on the altar every week. Like, I don't understand how you can be the chosen ones and you're not getting delivered from I just don't understand it. And so I made it my own personal mission to create an environment for people who love God to understand that they can make more money than they can give, spend, invest, or save. And that there's nothing wrong with it, because God actually desires that for you. Money is mentioned 2,300 times in the Bible. It's mentioned more. God talks about money, wealth, and possessions more than he talks about heaven or hell. It's that important. And there's not one day that goes by that not one person doesn't make a money-based decision.
Absolutely.
So unless you understand money and know how to see yourself as deserving and worthy of accessing more money, you won't access it. And so we have to spend that time on the spiritual foundation and do those poignant mindset shifts so that the business strategy will actually elevate the business and produce the results that they're desiring.
I love that, because I do notice that so much, that religion, and how it's like, even some people in certain religions, all different religions, not even just Christianity, but so many different religions, like, it's taboo to talk about money. It's taboo to want money, but everybody gets up every day and goes to work for money so we can live and take care of our family, and that we can eat. But I do feel that does hold us back. And I feel like, especially in the black family, it's really one of those things where we really have to release those generational chains. How do you feel we do that as a family?
Yeah, that's so good. So important to talk about everything from a unit perspective. I think that it's important, especially as women, and I work predominantly with women. Often these women are the breadwinners, right? And so that in a lot of people's eyes is always already upside down, right? If you look at the traditionalism of the household, the man is the one who goes out, makes the money, brings it back home. But that's not what we're seeing today. We're seeing women actually step into that role. And so that I think it's important as a family unit that there's visioning and expectation set. Right. I believe that people support what they help to create. And so by having conversations and inviting my husband into what I'm doing every week, we have a team meeting and we get to talk about not just the lay of the land or the state of the union for our home and our family, but also for the business and the things that are happening for what the work that he's doing, the work that I'm doing. All of that creates an environment of inclusion and connection. And so if we're, as a unit, if we're connected and we're talking about and we're moving in the same direction, it makes it easier to get to where it is that we desire to be.
That's so true.
And so I think that understanding the vision and the goals, talking about them, breaking down the potential obstacles and barriers, laying out in advance the possible complications to achieve that, right? Like right now inside of my business, we're in event season. So we produce a live event every May and we're like exactly at the time of this recording, we're 30 days from that event. Listen, I had sat my husband down a couple months ago. I was like, listen,
right,
we're going into event season.
It's coming.
So let's talk about what that dynamic is going to mean and what's going to look different inside of the house right now. So that communication prevents there from being obstacles to clarity.
That's good.
Everybody's on the same page. And from that place, we can create. Because one of the things I learned when we went through our premarital counseling was we're going to the same place. We're traveling to the same destination together, right? And so always remembering that we're a team and it's a partnership. And there are sometimes one partner's out front, one partner's in the background, but both partners are working in order to achieve the goal. And I think that communication and that understanding helps to avoid the distractions of comparison and confusion and potentially even jealousy or
competition,
ego and competition, all of those things that have the potential to flare up and create a derailment inside of your relationship. And what it is that you're doing can be avoided through just consistent communication and always seeing each other for who you are and, more importantly, how God sees them. And that also helps to break down some of the barriers that we tend to create just naturally in our existence and being who we are day in and day out.
I so love that. So what was it like for you, right? Because $1 million, like now, this day and age, right? Okay, so we may be around the same age, but when I grew up, I didn't know no millionaires.
Me neither.
Now it's like all my associates, I'm having conversations all the time. So my clients are millionaires. It's very common, right? And I always knew as a child that I would be one, right? So what was it like for you when you had your first 7-figure year? Like, what was that feeling for you? What happened?
It's interesting because my first 7-figure year wasn't sunshine and rainbows. It was everything Biggie said it was going to be. It was
more money, more problems.
It was more problems. Like it was terrible. Like part of the reason I do the work I do today is because I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy what happened to me when I got to the 7-figure mark. And so I want to prepare people for it, because what happened is I did not have the proper infrastructure set up in my business. I wasn't in the right tax entity. So I ended up paying $400,000 in taxes. And I immediately was like, well, why in the world did I bust my butt to get to 7 figures to give this amount of money to the government? Like, no, it was not. But I didn't know what I didn't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. And so, like, for me, I know a lot of people want it. It's not as hard as people lead it to or believe themselves to be that it is, but I want them to prepare. So my first year was not sunshine and rainbows. I really hated it. And I know hate is a strong word, but that is the right word to use. So much so that I was willing to give it all up. I was like, oh, you can have this 7-figure business. Like, I just need, and I reverted back. I went back to a business that did about $500,000-$600,000 a year because that was more than I needed. But what I realized is I also had more work to do in my mindset. Yeah. Because having access to millions now, having $1 million company, a multi-million-dollar company, and being a bona fide millionaire, because there are two different things. Today, the level of impact that I get to be in the world is substantially different because I've made a conscious choice to be a millionaire and to be $1 million CEO. And I know how to have set myself on a trajectory for it to not be overwhelming, for it to not be a nightmare when it was the dream, right? Because it started as a dream, but then it was the nightmare I couldn't wake up from. And so I've learned how to navigate the business and to teach my clients how to do the same so that as they hit that, they find themselves, enjoying it. Like last year, we had 10 clients that crossed the $1 million mark for the very first time.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Which is amazing.
Yes.
And they were prepared for it. They set up for it. It's a journey that they could be excited about so that their story would not be my story.
Mm-hmm. And that's good because we think about, especially the Black family, how we're not prepared. Sometimes we are left money, we're left assets, we're left millions in assets. And because we don't have the proper education, we don't know what to do with this. So you guys, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back with more with Darnyelle.
No more chains holding me.
Hey, one thing I know is that entrepreneurs need a team. You want to grow, you want to scale, you want to not overwhelm yourself and run yourself to the ground. You have to invest in at least an assistant at the very least. And 3C Concierge, they assist entrepreneurs with scaling their businesses and events by overseeing the administrative and project planning stuff, all that stuff that, you may not want to do, you don't have time to do, or don't know how to do. So you won't be so overwhelmed. They help you attract your ideal clients and they help you get the job done on time. So please contact c3concierge.com and book a free consultation so you can get the help you need to grow and scale your business.
No more chains holding me.
All right, welcome back, you guys. Hopefully you guys have been taking some notes. So I want to kind of dig in a little bit deeper into the work that you do for your clients. You have something about you teach them how to accumulate some assets, but it's a different type of asset. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we do with our clients is because we want them to first become $1 million CEO, right? And then we want them to become a millionaire. And so we kind of take great care in both ways. And so the assets are both inside of their business and outside of their business. So inside of the business, we want to make sure that they have what the coaching industry calls a signature system, right? Your signature system is your methodology and framework that you use to create predictable results for your clients, right? It's what you time tested and been leveraging for a period of time. That system by itself can produce multiple millions, and then the system can be broken down. Every step in the system could be its own system.
Right.
That could also produce millions, right? And so that's one of the most important assets we want them to create inside of their business. And then we want them to make sure that they are leveraging the power of intellectual property protection and that they're registering trademarks, not just slapping the little TM behind it and calling it a day, but actually going through the process to get their content and what they've developed registered as a trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
And that's money in itself right there.
That's money
you can license it.
That's what I was just about to say. So now that asset that we developed that just through you selling it to your client base can make millions is now licensable or could become a certification program that could create more millions, right? I went through the process a couple of years ago. The deal actually fell through, but we were in negotiations with a major university for my entrepreneurial curriculum, which, at this point, there's like 200 modules in it. But my base curriculum was about 24 modules that we went through the process of protecting and made it licensable. And we got almost to the table. They must have thought I was Boo the Fool and that I would be willing to take the pennies on the dollar they wanted to give me.
Think again.
And I was like, nah, y'all can keep y'all's little couple dollars because I knew that it was worth so much more. But the ability
But that's a message right there. You said you knew it was worth so much more.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a message right there.
Absolutely. I just think about our client base. So I've been coaching for the last 10 years. And over the last 10 years, our clients have generated, and this is just what we've tracked, have generated more than $350 million in cash and have generated more than $1 billion in sales. And so if we've been able to do that in 10 years and the content that I'm teaching hasn't really changed very much. There are some small nuances and variations based on some of the things that have changed from a marketing perspective, but the core information that we share is still the same. It's like Jesus is going to be the same today, tomorrow, and forever.
Right.
Yeah. As a result of
it's
that,
just how you execute on it, right? And how you
absolutely,
apply it.
It's timeless, and that ability to create something that could live forever is so valuable. Yeah. So helping them to understand those assets are important. Mm-hmm. So those are probably the two primary inside of their business. Outside of their team, that's the third asset, because the only advantage you have over your competitors is your team. Yeah, the people that you train and develop that are working on your behalf, especially as you desire to ascend, right, to the 7-figure mark. You cannot be the only service provider in your business at 7 figures. It's just really challenging. I mean, you technically can be, but then you've got a really well-paying job and you're not really the CEO of anything. Yes. And so really helping them to understand how to build team. Now, you don't need to get to 100 employees. Right. You know, it could be 3 to 5 really core team members that are supporting your efforts. You know, someone, at least one person helping with service delivery, at least one person helping with day-to-day operations, right? And at least 1 or 2 people working with marketing and sales. And you could have an amazing team that really takes you to where it is that you want to go. And then outside of their business, making sure that they, at minimum, have life insurance, right? Like, people don't realize that if you go today and you get $1 million life insurance policy, term life or whole life, but probably term life would be the best way to go. And term life with a cash payout equivalent in the event that the policy matures and you don't actually need to pay the benefit. But if you got $1 million policy and you had a loved one, a beneficiary, the day your sun sets, they become a millionaire. And so one of the things, and I'm going to give this tip to everybody who's listening right now, if we really want to release some change, go and if you have children, for however many children you have, make sure that there's a $1 million policy for each of them children. Now, depending upon how old you are, that's going to determine how much it's going to cost you. So, like, for instance, we don't have children yet, but I was teaching this to my clients, and I like to do everything before I teach it because I don't like to theorize. Okay.
And
Hello.
So
I went I opened up $1 million policy. Cost me $189 a month. It's a term life. It's a 30-year term on it. It was $189 a month, right? So if I had 4 kids, we're talking less than $1,000 a month to leave each of your children $1 million. Now, the other thing that I would recommend that you do is that you put that into a trust so that your son doesn't say and they get handed the equivalent to $1 million. No, you put a trust in place with stipulations as to when they can access that money so that, and hopefully now, once you do this, you teach them about financial literacy.
Absolutely.
So that when they come into that money, they have the ability to take that money and flip it and turn it into more millions. So now they can leave something to their children. And that's how we can live that proverb scripture, rich man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
And then that's
how we can do that.
And that's what that really means too, because like you said, it's like when you start to come around money, you learn about money. We learn how, like, people are so upset, about Trump not paying taxes. Well, no, I'm trying to figure out how I can do the same.
That part, right? That part right there. Yes, absolutely.
Instead of being mad, let me learn from the wealthy people because they've been keeping these secrets from us forever. But all of this stuff is in books. Yeah. These stuff is at conferences. This comes from hiring the right coaches, the right life insurance people. Because I learned this as well. Like, we bought some land and it was in our name, but then we transferred it over, into a trust, and it's in our family. It'll be there forever. You get what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where we have to learn to do better. We do have to release those generational chains so that we can leave the generational wealth. But that education part is crucial.
It's critical. It has always baffled me that we don't learn financial literacy in school. I mean, I remember going to college. Now,
why not? But that's so crazy. That's what I'm saying. But that's up to us,
right?
Though. It's up to us as individuals.
Yes, we as taxpayers, we need to push agendas to make sure that information is being learned. Because I remember my dad didn't. I was raised by my dad. My mom went to jail when I was young, and my dad never taught me anything about money except for you had to work hard for it. That there wasn't a tree out back with money on it. Right, that was the only thing he taught me.
Money didn't grow on trees, and we all heard that one.
I got into college, luckily enough, blessed enough to have a full academic scholarship, everything covered.
Nice.
but I got credit cards. One of my friends, I remember, because when you're a freshman on campus, there's tables with t-shirts. Sign up for this card, we'll give you this t-shirt, right? We get in the t-shirt. And so my one friend said, girl, a credit card is layaway you get to take home. Oh, I understood that. I knew all about layaway. Okay. So by the time I graduated, I did not have student loan debt, but I had about $27,000 on credit cards because no one taught me about financial literacy. I ended up going on to filing bankruptcy with more than, I'm not embarrassed anymore, but I'm going to say it, with more than $250,000 in debt from credit cards.
Wow.
Now there's a whole backstory there as to how we got to that point. It wasn't like I was just out popping bottles and
it's the interest, the late fees, the
interest, the late
penalties.
fees. And for me, it was buying affection. Right? Like a big part of my backstory, like I said, my mom went to jail when I was young, so I had abandonment issues. And so I felt like if I could pay people to stay, then that would give me what I needed, right? It's all wrong. It's all misguided. But at the end of the day, I ended up having to file bankruptcy because I did not have financial literacy. Best thing that could have ever happened to me is in that process, they make you go through financial literacy classes.
Oh, okay, good.
So I was forced, although it was the biggest blessing ever, to learn about money, to learn about these things. And that enabled me 3 years from filing bankruptcy to have $1 million company and to be a millionaire.
That's so dope.
It would not have happened had I not filed bankruptcy and been forced, because there was nowhere for me to learn about financial literacy in the education system. Yes, I could have picked up a book, but for whatever reason, those weren't the kind of books I was reading.
Exactly.
Right? Because I didn't
Exactly.
even know there was anything wrong with the way that I saw money until I found myself in this particular scenario.
Because it was all that you knew.
Absolutely.
It was all that you knew. But I'm glad, like I say, nothing's ever bad for us.
No.
It's always a lesson. And then it becomes a blessing later on if we're smart and we make the right decisions to change. And that's the thing. We have to want to change. Now, I love that you're very specific about the type of clients that you work with. I know that makes it fairly easier. I don't know if the word easy is right, but it kind of lets you know that your people are hungry, that they're going to execute, that they're here for real. Have you ever experienced, maybe when you first started coaching, those experiences with businesses or they maybe not CEOs who just weren't ready? And then how can you identify someone who's ready, or how can you let the people know when they're ready to move to 7 figures and when they're not ready?
Yeah, such a great question. So let me answer the first part first, and then I'll circle back. So yes, I today am very clear that we work with businesses at the 6-figure mark, but that was not always the case. I grew up in entrepreneurship in lack, and I took what I could get, and I also thought that I was their savior. So I'm taking on
And
clients.
they probably thought that too.
Yes. Taking on clients that aren't really ready to do the level of work that's required to get to the next level, and thinking I could save them. So I've been there, done that, got all the t-shirts for all of the wrong ways to do it. Now, how to know if you're ready to make the move to the $1 million mark? So it's twofold. Fold one is your personal belief, confidence, conviction, and worthiness denotes that money is available to you whenever you want it, and you want the maximum amount so that you can make the maximum impact. So that's the mindset side of it. Now, inside of your business, there are 5 things that we really need to make sure that they're tight, and it's a work in process, right? It's about mastering first and foremost the strategy, right? And strategy includes the offer that you make to your clients, how you package it, how you price it, how you position it, and how you promote it. Making sure you have the right infrastructure in who you are, the problem you solve, how you solve that problem, and the results that they experience when you show up to solve that problem. We also then need to really define and tighten your sales infrastructure. There are a lot of different ways to have sales come into your business. What's the way that works best for your most ideal clients and for you so that you can experience sales on a continual basis? Ideally, you should be selling every day, if not every week, right? And so making sure that infrastructure is in place. And that's going to include software. That's going to include team. That's going to include sequential setups inside of your system so that things can flow without you having to be present for them. All of those types of things are going to be important. And then you're also going to need to have the right systems inside of your business. There are 7. I can get into them if you like. And then you're going to need the right team. And that mindset is always running. We call this the move to millions method, right? Strategy, sales, systems, and support with success mindset right in the middle. And once you understand each of those things, you can put yourself on that trajectory to get the mastery that you need to operationalize your vision and execute it to get to the next level.
I love that you have that mindset mastery right in the middle, because that's the core of it all, right? Outside of your spirituality, that mindset, I'm telling you, that's going to move you. And then having those other things in place. So one thing you mentioned was the sales. You should be selling, and people get confused with this. I would love for you to break this down. People believe that you should be selling. There's a difference between selling and marketing. I'm sure you didn't mean like selling, every day, but you should be making sales every day, making money every day. What did you mean by that? Break that down.
Thank you for asking this for clarification purposes. So this is the way I like to explain the difference between marketing and sales. And it's, it's a slightly rated R. So I believe that marketing is the foreplay and sales is the deed.
Okay. I like that.
So we don't want to just roll up and jump right into it, right? We gotta, warm each other up and all of that kind of stuff. That's what your marketing does. And so, yes, every single day you should be marketing, and your marketing should be continual. You have to be a broken record in the marketplace for the problem that only you can solve. That's one thing. But then selling, yes, every day, those people that you're marketing to, like, we can never determine when any person is going to decide to take us up on our offer. Yes. That's why we got to be putting our offer out there on a consistent basis. Yeah. But every single day, there should be someone inside of our sales cycle that is falling out and are at the point of making a buying decision. It doesn't always have to be for your $10,000 coaching program. Right. It could be for your $25 book. But every single day in our company, we make money. Somebody is buying something every single day. And we've set it up that way because we have lots of different sequences that we leverage. A lot of people call these funnels. I don't like to use the word funnel.
Me either.
Because it means if something goes in the top, it comes out the bottom, and then what? Yeah. So we have sales cycles, right? So we have tons of sales cycles that are running concurrently. And every day, one of those cycles produces a sale for our company.
Awesome. I'm glad you broke that down, girl.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the move, right? So I like this, the whole thing, I'm from the streets, you know what I'm saying? So you talk about the moves that people make, people making in the streets or making in their industry, making as CEO. What are some of those moves that need to be made? And let's talk about mainly offline, because my whole thing is silent money, making money offline, because I've been an entrepreneur over 20 years. And so I come from the old school, before online, before MySpace, before all of these things. And for me and the work that I do on my clients, those checks are huge offline. And it's relationship based. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of moves that you have to make behind the scenes that nobody knows about. Closing deals, nobody knows about. Absolutely. You don't need no funnel. You don't need no $20 webinar. You don't need none of that. So what type of moves are your clients making? Are you yourself making to get to those millions?
Yeah, I love that you said that, because even for us to get our company to 7 figures, we didn't have an online funnel. I came online later, and we now have that as a part of our business. But for me, like, speaking has always been one of the most important things that I've done. It's been my lead magnet forever. Because in the rooms, we talked about that a little bit earlier, right? It's the rooms you're in. It's the person you're sitting next to on the plane. I am a first class flyer. I always strike a conversation with the person sitting next to me.
Yeah, you're like me.
Maybe they got upgraded and they're not normally a first, but maybe they're the CEO of some company that could use my services, right? Or could use the services of one of my clients, right? So always relating to people, and not relating to them for what you can get out of it, but the genuine interest to connect with the person, but listening with an ear to identify the problem. Because as soon as I hear the problem, I will interject and I'll say something like, "Hi, Ari, it's been great chatting with you as we make this journey to Atlanta. You said something a minute ago that I just wanted to make sure that I, number one, understood what you said, and number two, let you know that I could help you to solve that problem. You might not have been thinking that today on the flight, you might meet somebody who can solve that problem for you, but I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that I could help you with that. Is there any reason why you wouldn't be interested in us maybe setting up a time to chat next week to talk specifically about your problem and the solutions that I'm already beginning to formulate so that I might be able to help this problem become something that isn't a problem anymore?" Just something as simple as that opens the door, creates the need for a meeting, and then we can have that meeting and we can identify what's going to be the right solution for you. And if I'm the right fit, if we're the right fit to do this work together. So I believe in relationship building. I believe in offline marketing. I believe in picking up the phone. I believe in getting out and going to events. You know, there are often events that I attend that I am the only brown face in the room. And I sometimes prefer it that way because it raises my clout. Like they want to know who I am because who am I that I'm in this room?
Right, absolutely.
And so it opens up that door for me to have conversations and do some one-off consulting and creating opportunities, right? And I think that every move that we make doesn't have to be pronounced on social media. I think that the people who are telling you about their every move aren't really making moves. I think that the people who are moving in silence. And they're over here counting their paper, minding their business, transforming the world without an audience.
Because wealth isn't loud.
No,
you know what
it's
I'm
not.
saying? And so it's one of those things where no one even needs to know. Because, well, I mean, you have people who are jealous, but it's just nobody's business. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. I love that we're talking about this because with entrepreneurship being so trendy now, and it's good. I'm so glad for our people now realizing their worth. Like you said, I knew it was worth more. Like, I'm so glad that we are coming into this because we're doing business with each other. We're helping each other grow and helping each other's businesses. But we forget that there's a whole bunch of opportunities. There's a lot of impact you can make that's not online. Yes, we have to be online. We need, what I call brand equity. We need a social media presence because when you meet that person in first class, what are they going to do?
They're going to Google me.
They're going to Google you, right?
And they want to know if I'm legit.
If you're legit or not.
Absolutely.
And so you got to come up in that SEO. You got to, all of that is so important. So I'm so glad that we talked about that because it's so important because when people think entrepreneurship nowadays, the first thing they think is I got to market myself. I got to position myself online. I got to post 3 times a day. I got to do these things. And that's so not necessary. It's different moves you got to make. It's different circles.
Making the moves based on your end game. See, I believe in operating from your vision point, not your vantage point.
Yeah, and being super intentional.
And being very intentional. And, my goal for my clients, especially as they get closer to the 7-figure mark, is to not be in the day-to-day running of their business. They need an operations manager, a director of operations, so that they can be free to get on the planes, to go to the events, to meet that one. I have gone to an event to meet one person.
Meets girl.
Just to meet one.
And paid thousands.
And paid thousands of dollars to be in the room to make that one connection that is still making me money to this day. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I'm the only coach available to my clients. If I'm the only person, if I got to respond to the emails and answer the phone.
Well, hold on, I want to talk about that because now this is for me now because I'm in that space right now, right? So I literally just hired, and I should have done this 2-3 years ago, a business manager. And just having her, I'm seeing, like this freeness that I have because everything can go to her. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just been a release in the chains moment for me. But how do you as a coach, and this is for my coaches, or maybe not, maybe not, but how do you train someone your method, so that because everybody wants Darnyelle,
right? They
Darnyelle.
think they do. Well, but so before we even get to training, you have to stop making it all about you.
Okay, that's good.
So I made this mistake the first time I crossed the 7-figure mark. So at our event, we ended up enrolling over 100 clients into our program. Wow. They all thought they were going to work with me. Well, there is no way feasibly they could work with me.
Absolutely.
So then I had these coaches that they didn't want to work with because I didn't highlight and big up my coaches. Okay. And so as you're building up your team, you've got to put them on your level.
Okay.
So in our onboarding process, when we bring a new coach on, they shadow me. They shadow our second coach in command. They're watching our moves and what we're doing. We're bringing them up. We're asking them their 2 cents on the calls. So it's not just like Darnyelle's the only one there answering questions. No, what do you think? What do you think? Yeah. Anything you want to add to this? Yeah. Right? So that people can start to see them in the same light that they see me. So I think that's important. And it's all part of your onboarding process. So inside of our company, we have a 90-day on-ramp. So it's for every single position, it's 90 days. So that means the day we hire them, we don't have an expectation that they're producing. We want them to learn the business. Every single person who comes to work with us spends their first 2 to 3 weeks in the client journey. So they're going through everything the client goes through when they make that first deposit and come into our programs. They're experiencing all of that. Then we're debriefing on that and making sure that they have an understanding on it. And then they start to learn what they need to learn for their position. But they're learning the client journey first, because we only exist because of the clients. Yeah. And then they're learning the specifics of their role. But in that first 90 days, like, that's just them learning the lay of the land. The second 90 days is when they need to now shift from learning to doing and become productive. And as they become productive, then they get KPIs and metrics that they have to aspire to inside of their role. Every single person on your team should be the equivalent to 1 to 3 times their salary and revenue to your bottom line.
Okay.
And so if you think about it that way from the onset of hiring them and structure your onboarding process to accommodate for that within 6 months, then you will have people who are producing for your bottom line, and your company can grow without you having to be the one on the phone.
That's good, girl. So now that was for me, y'all. I don't know who else took notes on that, but I'm going to rewind this and I'm going to take notes, and I'm going to definitely implement that, because that's where I am now. Like I do have, my coach that comes in for my VIP days, but not that process. So I'm going to definitely implement that.
It'll definitely make a difference. Yeah. Like, I honestly don't have to be around at all coaching. Now, it's still one of the things that I love. So I show up in specific instances, but my team is so well trained and they love the work and the clients are receptive to them. They don't even need me. And at first I was feeling some kind of way. I'm like, well, you don't want to talk to me? But now I'm like, oh, well, that's why you hired all of these people, so that you could be free to come to Atlanta and have a conversation with you and all of that kind of stuff. It's still
your process and your signature program. Absolutely. It's just they're doing it under what they learn from you, but still their way, because they're highly intelligent as well and have their own things and experiences and resources. So thank you for that. That was so good, y'all. I hope you guys are enjoying this. When we come back, we're going to talk about millions in marriage, right? This is going to get real good, y'all. We'll see you soon.
No more chains holding me.
Some of you guys I haven't had the pleasure yet of meeting. So I'm Ari Squires, and this is just something that I've been doing lately. You have to do that, and that's again changing your circle. Because if I want my masterminds to be powerful, I gotta have powerful people in the room. Is when you go in knowing that the deal is already done, your conversation is different. But I just love to pour. So I love people who are here for the knowledge, because I'm an open book. Anything you want to know, any resources, any connections, anything, I am an open book. That's just who I am. And basically what she's saying and what I'm saying too, and I think we all can agree, is that it boils down to you have to make some sacrifices at the end of the day. Because you have to, that's why I always say, where do you want to be 1, 3, and 5 years from now? Because if you have that goal written on paper on your little white sheet on your in your office or wherever you look at every day, you realize, okay, well, I have to make sacrifices if I want to be good. I'm not saying don't sleep. We need our sleep. But I get plenty of sleep. But, what sacrifices are you willing to take? Okay.
No more chains holding me.
Okay, you guys, so this has been really good, so good. I'm so glad that you came and just shared all this good stuff with us on business, because it's been weird. I've been having a lot of different conversations, and a lot of them have been like interpersonal, spiritual based. This is the first real conversation where we've really got to the nitty gritty of business. But I want to talk about our businesses and our marriages. How long have you been married?
Going on 5 years.
Oh, okay,
so
awesome.
I'm kind of still a newlywed baby.
Yeah, you are. That's so good. Love it. So the thing about marriage and being a successful entrepreneur, being a boss, right? Being this woman who's very a go-getter, very, you're about your stuff. A lot of times people like us, women like us, and even men like us as well. But let's talk to the women. We put a lot of effort into planning our business and, showing up for conferences, showing up for podcasts, showing up to grow ourselves and our businesses. But sometimes, especially after you've been in a marriage for a long time, like myself, over 20 years, you tend to not put that same planning, that same energy into your marriage. how has that been for you, and what advice do you have, even for women who are dating? Because that's crucial too. I was talking to that about my makeup artist today. Like, no, it's important too when dating, because he's gonna see you making moves to your millions, honey. He gonna see you. So how do you balance that or blend that?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. I'm a late bloomer. I got married 5 days before my 42nd birthday. I had been engaged 3 times before. And when I met my husband, I knew my husband 5 years before we reconnected, and then it turned into us getting married. But in that 5 years, I tremendously evolved as a person, right? So I became an entrepreneur, became a successful entrepreneur, all in that window when we weren't together. By the time that I met him, I was at 7 figures. When we got reconnected, I was at 7 figures. So out the gate, we were in a scenario where she makes more. Now, here's the important thing for me, and every woman has to reconcile this for themselves. But for me, yes, I am technically the boss. I run the business, but I was not interested in running my relationship.
Say that.
I wanted to be able to have a
Pause for call.
Okay, sorry. I run my business, but I didn't want to run my relationship. And so I wanted to be able to have a man with whom that I could trust to let my guard down and move into that feminine energy to create a space for him to see his place. Because what happens often as women who make more is that men who believe that provision is only financial, they flounder. They struggle because they don't know what to do, because you make a lot of money. You don't need them for that, right? Like, I could hear my husband, he never said it, but I could hear him saying, oh, well, she don't need me. And whenever anybody doesn't feel needed, they tend to withdraw. Right. And so I had to be willing to create an environment for him to feel like he was inclusive. It was part of him. From day one, it was ours, right? Anytime I talked about it, I would say our company, right? It was ours. It's not my money. It's our money. Right. And so that was important. And then also helping him to realize and establish how he could provide that wasn't financial, right? So my spiritual edification, my emotional edification, making me feel physically safe. We're in the process of hiring a house manager, but he is the manager of our home and the things that happen, and giving him that ownership allowed him to feel a level of comfort in being part of what it is that we're creating, right? Because we're just getting started. We are literally the iceberg. We have only scratched the surface of what it is that we are here to do on this planet.
But you're doing it right, though.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as, you know what I'm saying?
I think that's the wisdom of getting married older. Yeah. Because I think if I were young, I could easily have seen my personality in my 20s being like the Tasha Smith's character in Why Did I Get Married? Right? I could totally be her. I could be her, y'all. Y'all might not believe it, but it's possible.
I don't see that.
So that's the wisdom of being older and being more connected to God and being more secure in who I am and not feeling threatened or like if I've got something to prove. Yeah. And we're still working. I believe no one goes to bed a blunder and wakes up a wonder, right? We are a work in progress. We are learning how to communicate and how to be what we need for each other. And, sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't, right? But we're committed to doing what we must in order to experience what we desire. Yeah. And I think that that's the important thing. And so for me, one of the things that I do, when we built our home, we built a suite adjacent to our home, which is where me and my executive assistant work. And so it's got its own entrance because so my executive assistant doesn't actually have to come into the home. So when I get off work, I literally leave out that door and go around to the front door. That 2-minute walk in the fresh air allows me to shift my persona from CEO to his wife. Something as simple as that allows me to come in energized, excited to hear about his day, to talk over dinner or whatever the things are. We've had to make some adjustments, right? When we first got together and got married, I was the cook. Well, I'm not the cook so much anymore. Right? So being able to have communication about what does that look like and how does that make him feel, right? And finding the things that I can still do for him that makes him feel special without just throwing money at it. Because I think it's often easy and we don't even realize it. But when you have money, you have money, right? And so it's like, okay, well, I don't feel like cooking anymore. Well, somebody's got to cook. Oh, let's just hire a chef. You know what I mean? Like, and it's great because we're eating great food, but he liked when his wife was cooking dinner
I had
for him.
to get there too, because it's a difference.
It's a difference.
Yeah.
And so we had to compromise.
It's a loving thing, like, you know, certain things that we do for our spouses. It's love. It's from the heart, and it's not money. It's just a simple thing of, you know, here's a hot meal made with love.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we had to compromise. So, you know, we had to come to an agreement of how often I would be at the stove because that's important to him. Yeah. But I'm like, I can't do it every day, because when I finish my workday, sometimes I'm spent. And the last thing I want to do is stand up for another 30, 40 minutes trying to prepare. And so, but I will cook on Sunday. Like, you know what I mean? So we've figured out what works for us. And I would encourage anybody who is married and growing their business. Number one, create partnership from the start. People support what they help to create. Invite him in. Treat it like it's yours together and not just yours singular, and allow him, ask him questions. Even if you've already made a decision about what it is you want to do, run it by him so he can feel like he is a part of it and he's helping you to create this thing, because that's going to go a long way for his ego and his ability to support you without feeling some kind of way like he's being left out or he's not more important than the work that it is that you're doing. And ladies, it's hard. I know it's hard. It's so hard, right? I mean, I love my work. I will gravitate towards what I do every single day because I know how to do it and do that well. But I have to be conscious about making sure that I make my man feel special so that he stays my man and he don't deviate. You know what I mean? So I think that it's important to, from the beginning, establish that. If you're dating and you're, looking to get married, as you get through the process of dating and getting engaged, when you do that premarital, I wish programs did this. I said this on another podcast. I wish people who were premarital counselors automatically baked into their program support for the first year of marriage. So once you come back from your honeymoon, continue going to get counseling and support to learn how to communicate, to learn how to be team in a partnership in your marriage. It'll save you lots of headaches. Ask me how I know, because I got the t-shirt. I don't want you to have to buy the t-shirt, so I'm telling you what to do.
That is so good. I really love what you said about we are a team. We are a partner, because it is so much competition, especially for a woman who is strong and independent and a go-getter, and she's been holding it down by herself and doing very well. It's a mentality. But I do believe one thing that you said, and this is just my own personal opinion when it comes to the feminine energy. I believe when we're showing up as bosses and we're showing up in our businesses, that's feminine energy too. Because the feminine energy is strength. If you think about us, we bear children. Like we were, we have this DNA to, even though, the man has that masculine energy, we have it as well. But that feminine energy is also holding things down, and it's not always have to be soft. It doesn't always have, and that's just my thing. Like I just I hear, well, you got to be soft, you got to be in your, yes, but feminine energy is also strong as well.
And there is no disputing that. For me, when I'm with my husband, my desire is to be softer. My desire is not to be the same stronger, feminine, in control energy that I am in my business. So for me, it is very conscious to shift into the girl and to be playful and flirty. That
and
is
sexy,
very intentional.
And very sexy as well. Like I know I've been married, we're going 19 years, and you have to remind yourself to be sexy. Coming to bed with the lingerie on, doing the naughty stuff, like really like coming out of this complacent and this comfort, because that's what happens in business. We get so comfortable, like he's not going nowhere, he's not going nowhere, nothing's wrong in our relationship, we don't argue, we don't fight, but there could be some things going on in him if you're not having conversations and communicating. So it's so important.
And if you're not tending to him.
Exactly.
Maslow's
as a
hierarchy
man
of needs. Everybody wants to feel like they matter and are important.
And they do have to feel more important, because than the business. You know what I'm saying? And they have to. And so thank you for sharing that, because I think that's such a discussion that that we're not having enough as women CEOs who are running companies, and we don't want to run our homes. we don't want to run all of that as well. But when you have the right man who understands through communication, through that energy y'all have, it just, me and my husband, we've just come in sync with it. It's like now we don't even have to talk about it much anymore because we're very conscious of that energy that we have to, bring to the table to build this Squires empire that I call it, this legacy. So I want to end with just a message. I want you to give a word to that woman who is listening. She's been taking notes. She's been, wanting to learn more from you. Share how we can, contact you to join your masterminds, your programs, your live events, which I need to come to. When's your next event?
It's coming up May 25th through the 27th.
I wonder, will this may show before then? If not, she's going to have more. So tell us where we can find you and just kind of give them a final word of
Absolutely.
advice. Yeah.
So first and foremost, I just want to say that who you are is incredible. And you don't need to change or tweak anything to be who God already created you to be, right? When God said, let there be, insert your name, he already knew what he was doing. He brought you into this earth realm as abundance and light. Now, that abundance and light was probably chipped away when you met your family. And no disrespect to your family. I believe that they did the best that they could with what they had. But I also know that it is likely that their best was not the best based on what they had experienced. That's how we get generational curses. But you, incredible one, you have an opportunity to make a powerful, poignant shift and to break the chains. You have the opportunity to decide right now that who God willed you to be before you were formed in your mother's womb is who you're going to step into being. And from that being and that embodiment, you have the ability to shake the planet. I want you to know that I believe in you. I honor you, and I can see the greatness that is on the inside of you. That's first and foremost. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, I am at Darnyelle Jervey-Harmon everywhere, IG, Facebook, Twitter, I'm at Darnyelle Jervy. You can go to drdarnyelle.com. That's my personal brand website. And or you can go to my company website, incredibleoneenterprises.com. Either way will put you in touch with everything that we have going on. If you go and follow me on social media, you'll definitely be privy to every time we have events. We do 2 major events a year. We have Move to Millions that we do in the spring, and we have God Girls Making Millions that we do in the winter. So be on the lookout for those. I believe that you were born to move millions. I believe that millions is your birthright. And I believe that if you didn't come from millions, millions should come from you. And because millions is your birthright, to access them, all you have to do is move. Thank you.
Ooh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And and I'm glad you believe it. I believe it for you. But the most important thing is that you believe it in yourself, and that requires you to release the chains. So thank you, Dr. Darnyelle. I'm so glad that you came. Thank you guys for listening. Please make sure that you follow us at Release the Chains, and also follow me at Ari Squires Speak. And please comment below. Give a shout out to Darnyelle. Tell her what notes you've taken. Please give us a comment, like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in.